Thanks for tuning in to your daily dose of quick real estate updates, local housing trends, and market data, plus tips, tools, and strategies to help you buy, rent, or invest with confidence. You're now getting ready with RealiCare Reports, powered by the innovation team, Cami and Rex. Now go grab your favorite morning breakfast, coffee or tea, and let's enjoy today's episode.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're shifting focus a bit. Not the rockets themselves, maybe, but what keeps them flying.
Yeah, the hidden stuff, right? We're talking about the critical supply chain, the industrial backbone that honestly proves this whole commercial space thing is really scaling up.
Exactly. We've got some press releases, economic reports from this summer, July, August 2025, and they all point towards Linde, a massive industrial gas company.
A global leader.
Yeah.
And they're making some really significant investments in new infrastructure here in the U.S.
Right. So our mission today is to dig into that. If a company selling, liquid oxygen, nitrogen, is building huge new plants near launch sites, what does that signal?
It signals serious commitment. It signals expectations of a much higher launch rate. Reliability becomes absolutely key.
We're looking for that concrete evidence, the physical proof of this boom.
And, it kind of starts with their history. Linde isn't new to this game. They've been involved in space for, over 60 years?
60 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, way back to the Apollo program, 1960s. They were supplying the liquid oxygen then. Foundational stuff, really.
Okay, so they have the pedigree. But the scale today feels different. The source material mentioned Linde powered over 100 successful launches just in 2024.
100 launches. I mean, just think about that volume. That alone forces a huge shift in how you approach supply.
100.
Yeah.
Is that spread across many players or just a few big ones driving that number?
The reports suggest it's tied to sustained high-frequency launches across the sector. It points towards operational maturity, and it's not just about the main fuel anymore.
Okay, so if it's not just the bulk liquid oxygen and nitrogen for liftoff, what else are they supplying?
Well, think about what happens after launch.
Yeah.
Satellites, right? They need tiny adjustments in orbit.
Station keeping.
Micro thrusts. Exactly. And for that, you need specialized rare gases. Very different from the bulk stuff. Different supply chain, different handling.
Interesting. And you mentioned earlier they're involved even before launch, like in testing and making the rockets.
Absolutely. Component testing is critical. You need specific gases to verify everything works under pressure, literally. And this is pretty cool. They supply high-purity gases for 3D printing.
3D printing rocket engines.
Complex parts, yeah. It's a big part of next-gen manufacturing. So Linde is kind of woven into the whole life cycle now.
Which explains the big announcement from their CEO, Sanjeev Lamba, back in July. He basically said, space is advancing fast, ambitions are growing, scale is increasing, so we need to invest.
And crucially, he tied it to 2 new long-term agreements for bulk gases.
That phrase, long-term agreements, that sounds like the key signal here.
It really is. It means the big customers are locking in their supply needs for years, maybe decades. They're planning for a sustained high tempo of operations, not just one-offs.
Okay, so if they're making these big long-term bets, where are they placing them? Geographically, let's look at the first major investment.
That takes us straight to Florida, the Space Coast, specifically Mims, Florida.
Mims.
They're doing a major expansion of their existing facility there, and location is everything, right? It's right near the key launch sites. You don't want to truck cryogenic liquids very far if you can help it.
Makes sense. And this wasn't just a sudden decision, was it?
Not at all. The Local Economic Development Commission, the EDC for the Space Coast, they confirmed they worked with Linde for years on site selection.
Multi-year period just to pick the spot.
Yeah, Linda Weatherman, the EDC head, mentioned it. It shows you the level of planning for these big utility-like facilities. You're dealing with some serious materials.
So the Mims project, what are the specifics? More liquid oxygen and nitrogen, I assume.
Correct. Critical supply of LOX and LIN. And it's scheduled to come online first quarter of 2027.
2027. But you said this specific expansion is key evidence for that exponential growth idea. Why this one?
Because it's not the first time they've expanded Mims recently. They did major upgrades there in 2020 and again in 2024.
Ah, okay. So 3 big expansions at the same site in, 7 years?
Exactly. That pattern tells you demand is just surging. It's consistently outstripping their own recent forecasts. That's not steady growth. That feels exponential.
Right. That makes the Florida picture much clearer. But you wouldn't want all your critical supply in one hurricane-prone state, would you?
Good point. Redundancy, geographic diversity, which leads us naturally to the second big investment hub.
Which confirms this is a broader strategy across the southern U.S. Let's talk Texas. Brownsville.
Yep, Brownsville, Texas.
Yeah.
This is a separate long-term agreement, a separate project. Linde is building, owning, and operating a completely new facility there.
A new build. What kind?
It's an ASU, an air separation unit.
Right, the factory that literally pulls gases out of the air, chills it down, separates out the oxygen, nitrogen.
And argon, in this case.
Yep.
This ASU will produce all three.
Right.
Liquid oxygen, nitrogen, and argon. And it's actually slated to start up a bit earlier than the Florida expansion, Q1 2026.
Okay, LOX, LIN, and argon, Q1 2026. But you mentioned there was an interesting strategy behind the Texas plant.
Yeah, this is where it gets kind of smart from a business perspective. It's that dual-purpose infrastructure idea.
Okay, explain that. How does it work?
So the space customer's long-term contract basically guarantees the baseline demand. It underwrites the huge cost of building the ASU in the first place, makes the investment viable.
Right, it de-risks the project for Linde.
Exactly. But the ASU will likely have more capacity than just that one customer needs. So Linde can sell the extra oxygen, nitrogen, argon, what they call merchant capacity, to other industries in Texas.
Merchant capacity.
Yeah.
So selling to hospitals, chemical plants, food processing, whatever.
You got it. So the space anchor tenant helps build infrastructure that benefits the entire regional industrial base. It makes Linde's overall network stronger and more resilient in Texas.
That's a clever way to leverage the space investment. It also brings us back to the idea of scale. Why does it have to be a giant like Linde, a $33 billion company, doing this?
Well, think about the operational demands. We mentioned their 2024 sales, $33 billion. That scale brings stability, redundancy, and, frankly, deep pockets for the kind of investment needed.
You can't afford hiccups if you're launching constantly.
No way. Imagine a launch scrubs. Weather delay, technical glitch. Suddenly you have hundreds of thousands of gallons of cryogenic liquid that needs to be managed, stored safely, potentially moved.
It requires massive storage, specialized transport, expert handling.
Right. Pipelines, huge tank farms, a dedicated fleet, engineers who know cryogenics inside out. Only a company operating at utility scale, like Linde, can reliably provide that level of service and risk management, especially globally.
And looking at their other business lines, they're involved in everything from clean energy like hydrogen and carbon capture to healthcare, manufacturing.
And medical oxygen.
Right. It shows this space investment isn't some random side bet. It fits into their core business of being a massive, essential industrial supplier.
Absolutely. And what this really reveals, I think, is just how necessary these huge established industrial players are to actually enable this next phase of space exploration. The missions are getting bigger, more ambitious, more frequent.
They need that reliable, massive scale infrastructure basically next door.
Couldn't have said it better.
So the key takeaway for you listening, when you see a global giant like Linde making these multi-million-dollar long-term commitments in Mims, Florida, and Brownsville, Texas, that's the physical proof. Commercial space is moving beyond R&D. It's becoming an industrialized, high-cadence operation.
To recap the hard facts, 2 big expansions. Mims, Florida, boosting capacity in Q1 2027. Brownsville, Texas, bringing a new ASU online in Q1 2026. Key products, liquid oxygen, nitrogen, argon. It just underlines how vital this supply chain is for making large-scale space happen.
Definitely a fascinating look behind the curtain at the nuts and bolts, or maybe the gases and pipes of the space race.
Yeah. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with based on all this. Linde is building ASUs. These are fixed industrial assets designed to run for decades, right?
Right. Long-term infrastructure.
So if a company with 60 years of experience in this is placing these huge long-term bets with fixed assets now, in 2025, locking in contracts, what does that implicitly tell you about the launch cadence they and their customers are projecting for the late 2020s, for the 2030s?
They're expecting a lot of launches consistently for a long time.
It's the physical manifestation. It's the concrete and steel evidence that the space boom isn't just hype anymore. It's becoming an industrial reality.
Well, that wraps up today's episode of RealiCare Reports, where real estate meets real life. For more updates, tools, and insights that will help you buy, rent, or invest with confidence, be sure to follow, subscribe, stay connected. Stay informed and stay ready. Until next time.